It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update as Tony Khan has revealed more about tonight's AEW major announcement. We have an update on Cain Velasquez's recent arrest, and multiple parties have been in talks over purchasing Ring of Honor. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out the first WrestlePlanet gaming video where we look at every released superstar that made it into WWE 2K22. There's some interesting names in the list, including some wrestlers that currently work for AEW. First, let's start with some worrying news as a WWE Hall of Famer has been hospitalized. According to a social media post from Jeff Jarrett, former NWO member Scott Hall is currently in hospital after falling and suffering from a broken hip. Hall is scheduled to be in Dallas next month for WrestleMania festivities, but it's unknown if the injury will prevent him from attending his obligations. Hall found fame in the early 90s as Razor Ramon in WWF, taking part in a classic ladder match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10. He'd later jump to WCW as one half of the Outsiders before the group became the New World Order at Bash of the Beach 96, once Hulk Hogan turned heel to join the fold. Hopefully Scott can make a quick recovery and we wish him all the best. In January 2022, Samoa Joe would be released from WWE for the second time in just over a year. Since then, Joe has been announced for the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, but has made no appearances in a wrestling ring. Joe would appear in an interview with Busted Open Radio this week where he was asked if he had any plans to return to wrestling, and he said, "Since my departure from WWE, I've been consumed with outside work outside of the wrestling industry. A lot of cool voiceover work, been busy with that. As far as my future in wrestling, I kind of started my road back to the ring in NXT. That road never really stopped, I just kept training. We're training, we're ready. I'm not on paper with anybody, anywhere. We haven't signed anything. We're just kind of exploring our options. I'm taking a little time personally to be with the family and shore up things homeside. We'll see what the coming months hold, hopefully it'll be positive. I'm not really engaged with anybody or exploring that. I've been consumed with my other work, which has been nice. We're now getting back to pro wrestling and seeing where we go from there." Joe would then be asked of the possibility of joining All Elite Wrestling to link up with fellow ROH Hall of Famers Bryan Danielson and CM Punk, and Joe revealed that he's open to offers, and he would add, "I'm open to whatever opportunity. At this point, I'm blessed enough that I get to make decisions and get to work on things outside wrestling, which is a rarity when you're this far in and committed to the business. The discussions haven't happened yet. I've got my team working on stuff, and when they eventually connect, we'll see if something gets worked out." The future of Samoa Joe remains unclear, but it seems he intends to get back in the ring at some point in the future. He remains one of the hottest free agents on the market and won't be short of offers going forward. Ring of Honor has been on hiatus since the Final Battle pay-per-view in September, with their return scheduled for April 1st in Garland, Texas, when they present Supercard of Honor 15. The promotion have now begun to announce talent and matches for the show as their hiatus edges closer to an end. It has now been revealed that Swerve the Realist, formerly Shane Strickland and Messiah Swerve Scott, is set to take on Alex Zane, who is the former Ari Sterling in WWE. This follows reports that Swerve is set to join All Elite Wrestling in the coming weeks, with him now making his ROH debut. On top of this, independent wrestler Joe Hendry and Ninja Mac have been confirmed to be wrestling, with their opponents currently unknown. Wrestling podcaster and journalist Denise Salcedo is set to take part in the show as a special host and a backstage interviewer, and these announcements are in addition to two matches that are already known, with Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions the Briscoes set to put their belts on the line in an open challenge, with their opponents currently unknown. Many are anticipating that FTR will answer the call following their confrontation at Final Battle in December. The show will be main evented by a match to crown the undisputed ROH World Champion, with Bandido set to take on Jonathan Gresham. Both men have a valid claim of being champion after Bandido was forced to pull out of his Final Battle title defense. Jonathan Gresham would then receive a new opponent, with AEW's Jay Lethal stepping up. Gresham came away with the win and now holds the classic version of the Ring of Honor belt. Next Tuesday, WWE will hold a special edition of NXT 2.0, which will be headlined by an NXT Championship match. On last night's episode, it would be confirmed that NXT champion Bron Breakker will defend his title against Tommaso Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler in a triple threat match that will main event the show. The event will be named NXT Roadblock, a former main roster pay-per-view. Raw superstar Ziggler has been appearing on NXT as of late, feuding with the current champion Breakker. As for Tommaso Ciampa, he is officially an NXT NXT superstar, but has been appearing on Raw as of late, most recently defeating Ziggler's tag team partner Bobby Roode this past Monday, leading to a post-match beatdown. Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode would then take on Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa on last night's NXT, with Ciampa pinning Ziggler to get the win. This earned him a spot in next week's title match. Former AEW World Champion Chris Jericho appeared on Fight in Focus this week and discussed international expansion of All Elite Wrestling, as well as a potential super show with New Japan Pro Wrestling. During the interview, Jericho told Josh Chernoff that he feels AEW are ready to hold shows outside of the United States, naming countries such as Australia, Mexico, the United Kingdom, and Ireland as possible destinations, and he would say, "I love wrestling in Japan, it's one of my favourite places in the world. Mexico City is another great place to wrestle, Sydney, Australia, Melbourne, Australia, all of these places all across the world, Manchester, England, Birmingham, England, they get there. They're just great wrestling towns, they're great Fozzy towns, so I can't wait." Like I said, we're fortunate enough to be able to make it back to England with Fozzy, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Dublin's a great city to work, and Belfast too. And just to go and every single show was sold out, people were ready to come and be part of something, again, similar to what's been happening in the States. So as soon as you know the UK opens, that's going to be huge for us. Jericho would add that as soon as Japan opens up, he can see a New Japan Pro Wrestling crossover show with AEW on the horizon, and he would add, "As soon as Japan opens up a little bit more, I can see a huge New Japan versus AEW Super Show. Like I said, Canada's a complete no-brainer because I think there's probably 6 or 7 cities there that we could do huge business in." Travel restrictions are still very much in place in Japan, making a US-based super show involving the promotion's Japanese stars highly unlikely. It is possible, but as far as I know, it would involve them quarantining to get back into Japan, which would of course affect their home-based shows. A Japan-based show with AEW traveling over there is probably off the cards too. There's a bunch of New Japan talent currently based in the United States, making a show involving the New Japan Strong roster a possibility. Tony Khan is set to make a quote massive announcement tonight on AEW Dynamite, with many anticipating that he will be revealing a New Japan vs AEW cross-promotion show. And speaking of tonight's AEW announcement, we've got some fresh news coming in out of Tony Khan's latest appearance on Busted Open Radio. Today, the AEW president would make his weekly appearance on the show and revealed some more information about tonight's reveal regarding the deal that he's been working on. Khan noted that he will be making an appearance on tonight's AEW Dynamite to break the news himself, marking only his second television appearance. This will be the first time he's appeared on AEW TV since the Brody Lee tribute show in December 2020. In the past, when a Tony Khan announcement has been hyped for Dynamite, it's usually through Tony Schiavone or another on-screen personality. It seems that this news is so big that he wants to do it on his own. Khan added that nobody knows what the announcement is going to be, but said it's on the level of the first dance announcement that saw the pro wrestling return of CM Punk in his hometown of Chicago. There has been a lot of speculation surrounding the deal, including the possibility of a super show with New Japan Pro Wrestling, as we discussed earlier, maybe even a major streaming deal, or perhaps the purchase of Ring of Honor. That's something that we're going to be discussing a little bit more in our final story, but whatever the case, we don't have long to wait until we know what the deal is. On yesterday's news video, we discussed a shocking story coming out of California, where a shooting took place that involved former UFC fighter and WWE superstar Cain Velasquez. San Jose police have charged Velasquez with attempted murder after he is said to have shot a man in a car in Morgan Hills, with the individual taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. We now have an update on the situation, and it appears that a motive for the shooting has now surfaced. According to Fight Oracle on Twitter, Cain is said to have chased down 2 men in a vehicle, one of which was accused of abusing his child in a daycare center. The daycare that Cain's daughter supposedly goes to is owned by a woman, and her adult son is said to have abused Cain's daughter over 100 times. The man who received the gunshot wound was the father of the alleged abuser. The man he was chasing is said to have been on bail for his crimes, and 3 gunshots were fired at the car. The claims made by Fight Oracle on Twitter were given a stamp of credibility by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, who took to Twitter to say, "In the Velasquez case, it was a 33-year-old man who was arrested for sexual abuse of a member of his family in a daycare center bathroom and was released. He allegedly tried to shoot the man but hit his father. It was a home-run daycare center run by the mother of the man Velasquez believed abused his relative." The alleged abuser was arrested the week prior and is facing 1 felony count of lewd and lascivious act with a child. According to a witness, he's been seen at the daycare center going into a bathroom with several other children. The man named Harry Goulet has been out of jail after reportedly being granted a supervised release despite objections from the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office. And now going back to Cain Velasquez, he could be facing 15 years to life in prison for first-degree attempted murder, and more information on the case is expected at some point today. And now let's end on a slightly lighter note, as we have some news on recent speculation that Ring of Honor is set to be sold. In an update provided by Fightful Select, we have some information on talks about a possible sale of the company, with multiple wrestling organizations reaching out regarding a possible sale or partnership. Fightful were told that in the past 2 years, even before the hiatus, there were inquiries as to the cost of what it would take to acquire the company. Over the course of 2 years, Fightful have had word of 3 different price points quoted to potential buyers. In 2020, an inquirer was told that it would cost more than $40 million, whereas another source close to the discussions claims it was in fact half of that. As well as this, a wealthy fan that wasn't in the wrestling business made an effort to purchase it more recently and was quoted for $30 million for half of the company. Word on a potential sale is said to have made its way through several wrestlers who were in Ring of Honor or had been connected to the company in some way. Again, with Tony Khan set to make a major announcement tonight, one fan theory suggests that he could be set to buy Ring of Honor, with AEW likely one of the companies that have inquired. Not only does ROH hold the extremely valuable tape library that contains footage of some of AEW and WWE's biggest stars, but it also contains the rights to the All In show, the predecessor to All Elite Wrestling. WWE will no doubt also be interested, as will a number of other parties. And before you go, make sure you check out every released superstar that made it into WWE 2K22.